Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on December the 3rd, 2019. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, he's the likable and the lovable.
And I'm the Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games that we have played. We're going to be going over our November Game Club, which is Celestial Command. We're going to be talking about the next Game Club for December, My Time at Portia. Electronic Arts is to create an in-game tutorial assistant. We will have our weekly community corner and a Steam discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello.
Hello. Shrink.
How are you? I never go by Shrink anymore anywhere ever. But that was a thing many years ago now when this all first started. I was Shrink and you were Rage.
Or Shrinky Dinky.
Yeah. And Shrinky Winky.
And Shrinky Pinky.
Yeah. Was there a Tinky thrown in there somewhere?
Only if you made the water around you yellow.
Sweet. Very interesting, though, now that you mention that I think about it. Like, when all this first started, I was just starting out as a counselor, as a therapist. Like, I was wrapping up my master's program. I just started seeing clients. And now I'm a full-blown professional shrink. I'm now more the shrink than I was then. Yet, I don't go by that.
Time is weird.
Time is weird.
But we are in the weird timeline, so yeah, all right.
Very true. Very true. Yay, politics. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit as part of our bullshit recording that we're doing tomorrow night.
What, Trump getting tricked by toddler-level reverse psychology?
God, I laughed. I saw that at work. I was up waiting on a client, so I was standing up in the front office, and I just started giggling. And both of the front desk ladies turn around and they look at me and they're like, "What do you think is so funny?" I was like, "How much do you guys want to talk about politics?" And they're like, "We don't." I was like, "Okay. Well, this political thing is funny." And they were like, "Okay." And I went back to giggling to myself like, tee. It kind of makes me happy for just a second. And then I go, "Oh, right.
He has the football.
He fell for it." It's like, he fell for it. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, he fell for it. Shit. So, yay.
Yeah, but hey, look at it this way. At least your feed isn't talking about how the French surrender monkeys are disrespectful to El Presidente.
Which feed? My Facebook feed?
Yeah, Facebook.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I never go on Facebook. Aside from just to use Messenger.
Yeah, I went on there to use Messenger earlier, and I saw between that and that, it's this one guy. I should just block him or just unfriend him, but it's the husband of a girl I grew up with, and he's so dense. He causes time and space to deflect around him. All right,
that's very dense.
He is almost a knowledge black hole. He was yelling about climate change not being real earlier, and also talking about how the French was disrespecting us and we should go back to freedom fries again. Oh, fucking idiot.
Looking at my my newsfeed, it's all very sad. Nothing to do about politics, but it does have to do with a lot of people's tragedies. Let's see. This person's sad about their dead cat. Mm-hmm. This person's sad about their divorce. This person is sad about their dead dad.
Well, mine is either Trump, climate, or I should say just anti-science bullshit, or Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's always the white Jesus as well. Jesus.
Help me, Jesus. Help me, Tom Cruise. Oh, here's someone bitching about Disney Plus. But it's not sadness. Oh, back to sadness. This person's sad because they lost their job.
Mm-hmm.
This person's sad because she has cancer. Not that these sad things aren't legitimate, but it's full of sadness. One of the many reasons I don't go to Facebook. It makes me sad. Although this time it's because of the people, not because of Facebook itself. Ooh, here's someone with a really cute Christmas village. I can get behind that.
But it's also sad. Right?
Why is it sad? A Christmas village?
Because they put it out in October.
It's out. It's from today? I suppose they probably put it up after Thanksgiving, which is when we did our Christmas decorating. It was the day after Thanksgiving.
Which
we do that every year.
Is a nice change of pace.
Yep.
Yeah, I had neighbors that was putting up stuff just after Halloween.
Yeah, every year after Thanksgiving, we the day after is when we do the majority of our Christmas decorating. Like we do a live tree every year, so we go get the tree, we decorate it, we change out the fall stuff to the winter and Christmas stuff. So Katie is very anti-Christmas at October, which makes me happy. Although honestly, I don't really like decorating for Christmas either. That's mostly because I'm lazy, but I don't like to do it. I was very happy. It only took us about 3.5 hours to do the bulk of our decorating this year. I'm like, yeah, not an all-day thing.
Well, it looks like I may be having to yell at UPS because I had a package not show up today, and now they're saying they're holding it at the handling center.
Uh-huh.
That's a new one. Never had to do that before. But they fucking broke something in it.
So is this enough talking about Christmas decorations and weird stuff and ready to go talk about some games?
I guess so. Enough random shit. Let's go talk about some other random shit.
Yeah, but some other random shit that's video games. Rage, tell me about one of the games you played this week.
Well, I'm not sure if I could call it a game, but more of a frustration simulator. I played Pandemic, the board game. This was my random Game Pass game for the week, because why not at this point? I was poking around Game Pass and saw this was on there, and I remembered, I kind of liked Pandemic, playing with the group. Mm-hmm. The couple times that we got to play. I wonder how they handle it as a proper video game. Poorly. They handle it poorly. That's the answer to that question. It's obviously a direct console port, so there's a lot of things that are needlessly obtuse to begin with, just because of the change of interface. I mean, if you were playing with a controller, that would be fine and all, but everything is overly large. Everything requires like 2 or 3 extra clicks because they expect you to be using a controller with like shoulder buttons and the like. Like a good example is whenever you're playing a card, like an event card, mm-hmm. Only one is active at a time. So in order to swap to the event card that you want, you have to click arrows instead of just clicking the card that you want to activate it. Yeah, things like that. Or the fact that whenever you're traveling, if there's multiple paths to get there, they don't actually cover how to handle that. And I only figured it out after just messing with it long enough to figure out, these very, very tiny buttons under the city. That's how you control how to get there or what route to take. Because there's times that you may want to do a different route. But anyway. Pandemic, for those who don't know, I should have gone over this first, is based on a board game by the same name, Pandemic, where you are a group of CDC agents trying to control 4 diseases that's broken out into epidemics, and you're trying to essentially prevent the world from ending. And there's different roles that you can play. There's the specialist that I believe that's the one that only needs 4 cure cards in order to complete it. There's others that allow you to move other characters, yada yada. There's with the free add-ons that you can just download on Game Pass. There's, I think, 9 different roles that you can play.
Mm-hmm.
With various combinations being far more powerful than others. There's one that I never saw on the tabletop simulator version, that you collect disease cubes to essentially hold onto your bank, and then you use those in place of an additional card in order to cure the disease. Instead of just needing 4 cards, you have to go collect samples, which was kind of neat.
That's interesting. I like that.
But also, it's taking cubes off the cities as well, which, for those who don't know, the cities can essentially cascade. Once diseases start to spread, your disease counters start building up on cities. Once they hit 3, if a 4th disease goes onto that city, it spreads to all the other connected cities, and the cities are connected via like this travel web. So the minimum connections, I think, is 3 cities, with some of the more connected cities being 5 to 7. So it's an additional way to control the disease, but also be able to cure a little bit faster. But it just presents all the info in a very obtuse way. A good example of this is I actually had a pandemic breakout in South America. The reason for this was I did not realize that one of the South American cities was getting hit hard, because the city was hidden behind the cards on the screen. So I didn't see, that city has 3 counters on it, I need to get down there. No, it was hidden. I'm sure that there's a way to hide the cards or hide the UI. The tutorial doesn't cover it. The tutorial covers the incredibly basic rules of the game, and that's about it. But it doesn't go into any of the nuance of the game, or really any of the mechanics unique to the game version, such as having to click a very particular arrow to be able to change your route. It doesn't cover what some of the specialists do. It just leaves you with a very basic overarching. It feels like it's preparing you for the board game version, but it needs like another level of tutorial on top of it. Plus, it's a little bit annoying because every turn after you click off, there's no AI at all. So if you're playing by yourself, you're controlling all the characters. I think that there's an online play, but honestly, there's nobody playing it, so I didn't even really bother with it. So you're having to hand off essentially to yourself, but in between every single one, it gives you a random tip that you have to also click off. So it's click in turn, then move up, click this, then it starts to load your next turn. And I just found it incredibly tedious. I think that's kind of the point of the game, or my thoughts on the game is just, it takes the board game and it makes it tedious. It's not fun. It just feels so damn clunky. Everything does. There was one time I accidentally used a card that I was about to use for a cure because it didn't register that I tried to change the travel route. So it used that card anyway. So I had to undo and replay essentially my entire turn. Thankfully, it did give me an undo, but it's just, there's just so many niggling things here that I would say go play tabletop version of it. You'll have a lot more fun. You can make up house rules. And you could actually find people that will play it.
Yeah, this sounds like it fails at one of the things I like the most about electronic versions of, or video game versions of board games, is that they can teach me how to play if I don't know anybody who knows how to play a board game. and then I can get the actual board game. But this sounds like it doesn't teach you how to play. It's just tedious and boring.
It teaches you the very basic rules, but it doesn't teach you anything about the strategy or how to actually handle things. If I had no idea how to play Pandemic at all, I would have been so screwed. Because it was essentially how to move, how to play cards, and what the overarching goal was, but that was it. It gave really no useful hints. It didn't tell you that you could actually use the cards to fly to a direct city, or that the CDCs could be connected, used as travel hubs. Didn't cover any of that. Like I said, it felt like it was missing a tutorial, at least one, if not two.
Mm-hmm. So, are you saying overall, do not recommend?
Yeah, I recommend it like the Black Death. Avoid like the plague.
Oh. We'll play the actual Pandemic, because that's good.
Yeah, go play the tabletop version. You'll have more fun with it. It's more tedious to set up and get going, which is one of the benefits of a video game version of a board game, is that it can be a lot faster. But they just handled this so clunkily. I mean, even with a controller, it would feel clunky, I think.
Yeah. I used to like the Ticket to Ride board game that was on Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's one on Steam, but I don't know how well it plays.
I think that one actually plays somewhat well.
So, that's the one game that you have that we don't share.
Yep.
I have two games that we don't share. Mm-hmm. These will go pretty fast. The first is Killing Time at Lightspeed. I really like this game a lot. It is one of those experiential types of games where that talking about it is liable to ruin the experience. So if you don't want to have any potential for any kind of spoilers, this is a full-blown 2 thumbs up recommend for me. I got it during the last Steam sale for like 90% off. Like it was $1, something like $1. It's definitely worth that. It's $10 full retail on Steam. It's hard to say with these experiential type of games what you value and what type of price, you're willing to pay. I do believe that there's some replay value here if you really want to go through and try out some of the different, or make some different decisions or responses to people. I don't know if it's worth $10. I don't think I would have been as happy if I'd paid $10 for this. But I do think this is a very fair $5 game. I played it for about 3 hours, between 2 and 3 hours. And that was just one playthrough. So I'm going to be very, very spoiler light, like try not to spoil anything at all. But if you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead until I'm not talking about it anymore.
Okay, fast forwarding.
Yay. No, so in Killing Time at Lightspeed, this is an experiential type game. It is set in the somewhat near future, like the mid 21st century. And you are, the character that you play is leaving Earth, headed to an outer colony, and you are going at relativistic speeds, so near the speed of light. So, time progresses for you at a different rate than it does the people left on Earth. And you're using this social media site. It's just random. I don't think it's supposed to be specifically analogous to like Facebook or something. Although there are some parallels that you can see there. But anyways, the way that you're able to keep... Yeah, a lot of them are. But the only way that you are able to keep in touch with people is via this social media site. And every time you refresh the page to see what's updated, a number of months or years will have passed based on how fast you're going at the time. And it's kind of neat the way that it does that, because it's like at the beginning, while you're traveling more slowly, only, a few weeks or a couple of months passes. In the middle of the game, when you're obviously going closest to the speed of light before you start slowing down, when you refresh it, it's a year or more. And then at the end of the game, the time gap starts to shrink as you're slowing down. I thought that was a neat little trick. I don't know how many people are going to catch that. I also haven't tried to calculate how fast specifically you're going, based on, the differences in the time skips or whatever. So I don't know if they got that right. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I just thought that was a cute touch. But there are a series of events that take place on Earth that you only, like I said, only have access to via this social media interface, and then you have an ability to look at some news articles, so that you can be a little bit more informed about what your friends are talking about on your feed. You can do things like it's called commend, but it's basically liking someone's post, and then some posts you can respond to, and it's just pre-canned responses. But based on what you say, you'll get a different response back whenever you refresh the page, or potentially no response at all. It depends on what you say and who you're talking to. So there's a variety of characters that you will pretty quickly pick out, I think. I found them to be quite in-depth, despite the fact that you just barely interact with them at all. They did a good job of putting a lot of personality into these little snippets of characters' lives. It really felt like by the end of the game, once I had kind of figured out the various characters, like it felt like, okay, yeah, these feel like people who are actually posting things on social media. And you've got some people who are, they post a lot more. Some people are kind of vague. One person's like really artsy. And it's just interesting to view these events through their eyes. And it's all sci-fi stuff. The events that happen, they're all completely 100% sci-fi at this point. I suppose the technology could exist to make them happen one day, but this is impossible. What happens in the game is impossible with our current levels of technology.
At least with that attitude.
So, indeed. But yeah, I can't really say any more than that, without starting to spoil things. So, one more thing I will say. My final response to the game, it made me sad. And I'm not 100% sure I had fun with it, but I enjoyed it. That whole argument about, are video games art or not? What does art mean? This was definitely an experience that made me feel some things, and that was done in such a way that it made me reflect on the character of humanity, which sounds really big and grandiose. The game is definitely trying to tackle some big topics with its subject material, but it definitely made me feel. It made me feel sad, the way that it ended. But that's not a bad thing. It was really good. That's kind of the reason I don't want to go back and play it again. There is replayability there, like I said. You can choose to respond differently to people. I don't know how much that can influence events that happen in the story. But, the characters that I had gotten over the course of the 2.5 hours that I played the game, I had gotten to know them. And I liked them that way. I don't want to go back and sort of game it. To me, that takes away from the experience that I had. So, thoroughly enjoyed it. Fully recommend it. Pick a price point that's right for you. I feel like it's definitely worth $5. I don't know if I would have liked it as much if I'd paid 10 for it. But if you like the sound of this, like the idea of this type of game, or a, games as art experience type thing, maybe it is worth that much to you. But it's certainly not bad. I enjoyed it quite a lot. The other game I played was called Simple Railroad. I'm sure you can guess why I bought this game. I got it on the Steam sale for 50 cents. It's normally, did I get this from Keymailer? I either bought this on the Steam sale for nothing, or I got a review copy of it. Looks like the historical lowest price is $4. I definitely did not pay $4 for this, so I must have got a review key from Keymailer. This game is hot garbage. It looks like a student's, maybe not their first gaming project, but a relatively early gaming project. It's just bad. It doesn't look good. It's janky as hell. It doesn't have systems that really make a lot of sense. And then it's made by someone who's not a natural English speaker, because in sort of the visual novel-esque styled cutscenes. It's a lot of English, sentences that don't make sense, or words are conjugated improperly, or it's not good. So apparently there's like a whole side to the game, like a more management side that I didn't get to because I didn't get far enough, based on like looking at some other people talk about the game. But it's just garbage. It's what I played of it is sort of like a puzzle game. You're given a map, some very basic tools to create tracks, and then you have to get trains of the appropriate color to the matching station color. And that sounds simple enough, but the UI is garbage. You would think for this type of thing, it's like, okay, I'm going to click on the piece that I want to build, and I'm going to click where I want to build it in sort of like a grid-esque system based on how it looks and is laid out. But you would be wrong. You have to click and drag, and it feels like a mobile game in the sense of like whenever you drag the piece, where the piece is actually sitting isn't where it goes, but it's where your mouse cursor winds up, which sometimes can be quite a ways away from the piece. If it's almost like mouse acceleration, like, you know, how mouse acceleration works, but the piece will move faster or slower than your mouse cursor. And so it won't wind up where you want to put it, and then you'll get kind of confused, and you'll waste money and time building tracks in the wrong place. There's no pause. Well, there's a pause. You can pause the game, but you can't actually pause and then build track and then unpause. You can slow down time, but you can't pause it. So if you fuck something up and you've got trains going to the wrong station, well, you're about to be penalized or have a crash. The system for doing things like stopping trains on tracks, if you want to have bidirectional tracks, or for changing them over to different tracks, is really screwy and doesn't always work. And then sometimes and I don't know if it's like the scenery or the background, or if it's just like a weird like color scheming thing, but sometimes you will have a track that's changed to go the wrong direction at a switch, and you won't notice. So your train will either go the wrong direction, or if the track that it's on can't connect via the switch, maybe like you have unfinished tracks, or for some reason it's like trying to turn left, but that it can't because the track is blocked. The train just kind of bounces off and then starts going backwards. So if you accidentally miss a switch, you can cause a huge crash because the train will bounce backwards and crash into something else, which will cause kind of a chain reaction if you've got multiple trains on. The mechanics for it are just totally borked. It's not fun. My kid was even like, "Daddy, this isn't a very good train game. I don't like it."
Well,
because we've played.
I did notice there's an error on the store page.
What? Where?
The release date. I'm pretty sure they meant to say 1999, not 2019.
Because of how bad it looks?
Yeah. I mean, this looks like... No. Saying late 90s is being kind to it. I mean, damn, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But that, like, part of the story, like at the beginning, is you're some like rich kid who wants a special train, and your cousin or your uncle finds it for you, but it's busted up and you have to fix it. And then once you fix it, like, you start your own railroad, and then the money you collect during the levels and stuff actually matters. But I didn't get that far. I got to chapter 2, I believe.
And then you were wishing for death.
I was. We played it for not even a half an hour before both me and my kid were like, "This is terrible. Let's play a different game."
And I'm not just ragging on the graphics. It's more the overall design. It sounds like it's a mid to late 90s computer game.
Yeah, I would probably love this if I played it in 1993. But I didn't. I played it in 2019. And it is
you played it in the current
garbage
year.
Dumpster fire. Yeah, I played it in the current year. And it's garbage. So, Simple Railroad, avoid. Hardcore avoid. Do not recommend. Not worth it at any price, even free.
So, since we both have had bad games, how about a good game?
Indeed. You and I both played We Were Here Too. So this is kind of like a double game club.
Double claim club. What does it mean?
Double rainbow. But yeah, we played that this Sunday. Much like the original We Were Here, took us about 2 hours.
2 hours and some change. I would say closer to like 2.5.
Yeah. I had some kind of weird issue where that when I started the game, it would freak out, acting like I had multiple input devices plugged in. But I didn't. I had my HOTAS unplugged and my Xbox controller turned off. But I turned on my Xbox controller and then turned it back off, and that fixed it. So it was fine. It didn't act up again for the rest of the time that we played.
Yeah, for anyone that's never played this, I would suggest going and checking out We Were Here. It's essentially this. I would say just a free prequel, not even a tech demo, because they're both essentially the same length of game. But yeah, it's a cooperative puzzle, first-person puzzler, where you have to work together through the power of communication. Each player, for, I would say 95% of the game, is either partially or completely separated from the other player. And you have to relay information back and forth to be able to get through the puzzles. Usually some sort of visual puzzle as well. So having to describe runes or having to give directions to a player that is in an odd situation that they can't really tell what they're doing.
Yeah. For example, there is a maze puzzle, and in that puzzle you were telling me where to go in the maze because I couldn't see.
Yeah.
And I had to get to specific like spots that were lit up.
Yeah, you were within the labyrinth
the puzzle.
And couldn't really tell where you were going, so I had to direct you. And yeah, once I figured out that I could disembody myself and get a better view of the maze, because there was a couple times that there were some more obtuse things than in the first one. That was one where it was, it wasn't clear that I could just, kind of somehow look down upon the entire maze, because originally I was trying to direct you without doing that, and it was the platform was too low. But also there was one puzzle where we just did not get it, which I think if we worked a bit longer, we would have had that aha moment. But I didn't realize what was going on your side of things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I probably through the power of just describing things, we would eventually gotten, because the symbol changed every time I died. So eventually we would have gotten one that we could more accurately or quickly describe to one another. And then be like, oh, this is how it works.
Yeah, there's usually either there's no time limit or there's a very strict time limit where you're about to die, or the puzzle just resets. And and in the first game, it was one person essentially in this library that had, I think it was 2 rooms with a balcony, that the information that you need to get through the puzzle was in that room somewhere. And it was their job to go find it and then relay it. And the person that was running around, on top of just actually putting in the puzzle, it was describing the puzzle well enough to be able to say, okay, this is the information I have. This is what I need, and be able to figure out exactly what you need in the library. This time it was a lot more back and forth. There were a couple times that I had to do something. I was essentially in the library role again. It was Lord and Peasant, and we had no idea what that role means. So essentially I was just clicking back and forth until you locked in, just to make it as random as possible, to make it fair, right?
Yeah, and I got Peasant and you got Lord.
Yep.
So
essentially I was in the same role once again of explainer, but it wasn't as static as it was before. I was progressing through rooms as well, and there was a couple times where the roles reversed, and you were giving information to me to be able to do something. Like there was the castle, where you were explaining the directions I had to take to be able to essentially storm the castle.
Yeah, that one was fun. Although it was that one was very monotonous, like forward, right, forward, left. The last two at the end, I had to use the rocks to space out the knights correctly. In my head, I just kept seeing Pokemon because of all of like the caves that you go to with ice or whatever. And it's like you got to bounce around the rocks. Yeah, the Pokemans. I saw the Pokemans in that.
Yeah, for me, it was very, I had no idea what the hell was going on. So I was just going through your direction. But it was also a case of where we communicate very well. Once I figured out, like, the maze, we got through that pretty damn quickly.
Yeah. I mean, you and I both, we've been friends for a long time. We both, I think, are fairly good communicators. And so once one of us, once we crack the puzzle, it's like, oh, okay, got it. This, that, whatever, solve it, done.
Yeah, I mean, even the one that we were having trouble with, even after you looking at the walkthrough, you couldn't figure it out, and I pretty much had it.
Yeah. I was really confused. And a lot of people were saying on the walkthrough, like, that was the hardest puzzle that they'd spent the most time trying to figure out. So I didn't feel, bad or dumb or whatever. I just was like, if we're going to do this tonight, it just didn't click with me. But all the rest of the puzzles clicked. There was the one with the stained glass that that one took us a minute because it was a lot of describing, and there were a couple of things like what it was with that last one to solve it was there were two pieces that looked almost identical, and just the designs were different on the trees.
Yeah,
but they had the same number of trees and everything, so I just had to swap those out and get that one. It took us a minute on the first one as well, but once because that was one of the ones where that I kind of had the thing and was telling you to...
Yeah, the blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was...
the tower with the blocks. Jesus.
Yeah.
I died a lot of times.
Yeah, well, it took us a bit to figure out what was going on because it wasn't apparent what was going on because you were seeing a cross and I had a bunch of blocks, and then I think it clicked for me that, that's the disassembled box.
Yeah.
So
and then once you said that, I could see it too, and we just had to figure out the right way to communicate which side was which.
Yeah, because it was one of 3 or 4 symbols on each side with a compass rose, so we were having to figure out, okay, well, what's on the opposite side of the compass rose, and then figure out if this block is right, because it was a timed puzzle, and you had, lava following you?
Yeah, so what the puzzle was, dear listener, is that there was a tower that I was going up, a spiral staircase, and the stairs were slowly retracting into the wall, and below was a lava pit. And if Rage went to put the wrong box, however that choosing process worked, it would retract a huge chunk of the floor at once.
Yeah,
and you could have...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you were quick, you could have 2 misses per sort of puzzle to solve.
But also, if you get one early, you could have a little bit more time, right?
Yeah, because the stairs didn't recede any faster unless you screwed up unless you picked wrong.
Okay, for me, I was in this giant cathedral, and a random door would open. And I would go in there. It was a random one of like 4. I would go in there, and there would be a bunch of blocks that were on pedestals. And when I go in there, all the blocks were blocked off. And then I picked it up, and I was able to freely rotate it to look at it. And I had to put it on this one pedestal. And if I messed up, all the blocks would reset, but it would also prevent me from picking them up for a few seconds on top of it. I'm assuming that's also during the time that the large chunk of the floor was being pulled away.
Yeah.
But that's why I had to figure out, okay, compass rose, what's opposite of it, and then ask you, like, what's the top and bottom, because there was a couple times that, I thought I had the right one based on the 3, but there was some blocks that the only difference was like the top or bottom icon. It'd be like a square instead of a triangle, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, that's why that one took... Actually, I think that's the one that took us the longest without just looking up how to solve it. That one.
Yeah, I think so. That one took us the longest amount of time to get our sort of communication skills down. The castle one took a long time, but that's just because there was a lot to do. We didn't really struggle with it. It just took us a while. But pretty quickly we figured out I've got these and I have to match them to the ones that you've got and you have to describe it to me and I have to find what I need. So, there was the one where we had to fix the armor sets.
Yeah.
That one was a little involved for me because I think that all you had was to just go check them.
Yeah.
There was a receding wall.
Yeah, I had a receding wall that was essentially, it was a rectangular wall with 4 armor sets there with a coat of arms above each one. There were 2 essentially right inside the door where the receding wall was slowly progressing forward. And there was 2 on the far end. That's why I focused on the ones on those 2 first, is that it had the shortest amount of time before I had to have you reset the wall. Because you had a wheel that you could spin in there to pull the wall back.
Yeah, and my room was fucking huge. I had to go run and look for the either appropriate weapon or shield for the armor and go stick it on and then run back over and spin the wheel back around so the wall would open back up. That was a hassle to get through. And I had lava pits that I could fall into if I wasn't careful.
Oh, of course you had
a lot of lava in this one. A lot of lava. I fell in the lava a lot of times.
And fire.
Yeah. Lava and fire. Fire there at the end. These big jets of fire shooting out from a rising platform underneath the cage I was stuck in.
Yeah, but overall it was fun. Downsides outside of that one puzzle was the intro and outro movies. They must have been rendered at 280p or something, and then blown up to 1080. There was artifacting terrible. All to hell. I mean, maybe it was some sort of art style that they were going for, but it was just horrendous looking.
Yeah.
And there were...
And I mean...
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, it could be some kind of weird glitch, but we both experienced it, which makes me think that it had to do with either their encoding or what they rendered the videos at. Or maybe some kind of weird issue with the file itself that just gets propagated out to everyone.
Or it just doesn't like AMD video cards.
Well, that's true. We both have AMD video cards. That could be a possibility.
But also there are multiple endings, but we got the bad ending because in order to get the good ending, you have to find, each person has to find, I think, what was it, 5 or 6 levers. And
yes, throw them at random. I think it said there were 12 total.
And in this game, throwing things at random that you don't know what's connected to is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So that feels a little convoluted, honestly. But that might just be me.
Yeah, I think so, but that's the kind of secrets that's there that's sort of counterintuitive. And all the levers, thinking back on it, all the levers look the same. That are the secret levers, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I think I threw a few of them, not thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, that lever that I threw every time that I thought started the puzzle for the tower, I'm pretty sure was a secret lever.
Yeah.
I don't think it actually started the tower. Because the floor didn't start receding once I flipped the lever. It started receding once I got on the staircase.
Yeah, so that was likely a secret.
Yeah. And I mean, there were a couple others that I found, but, there were some that I didn't pull because I didn't know what they did. But there was one in the stained glass room that I found, and I was like, I'm not going to pull that because I don't know what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there were, I think I pulled 2 or 3 out of the 5 or 6. And I know at least one had a story, a bit of a book, because I read it to you, remember?
Yeah,
that was sitting next to it.
Ones. Not all the ones. A couple of the ones that I found did.
Mm-hmm.
So, Think about this one compared to the first one.
I think it's more polished overall.
Yeah, I think that this is a better one. So I tried to play the first one with Katie, and I did the librarian portion because I had done the other one when we played me and you played, and that was a real struggle in a couple of places, like the chess court or the chess game that was like the whole courtyard. Yeah, that was really hard, and we were stuck there for a long time, and she got frustrated. I don't think there's any puzzle that really fits into that. Maybe the maze, but it's not like you die, just the maze resets and you have to start over.
Yeah, I would say the maze was probably would be the biggest sticking point, because that's the one that felt like it was the most time constrained. I don't think you ever, once we figured out how to communicate it, there was, it felt like it was tight, but it wasn't, you were stepping on it last second.
Yeah.
I mean, you were running the entire time, right?
Yeah, I was sprinting the whole time.
Just making sure. Yeah, but I think it was also one of those that if you took a wrong turn, you were over. And it was a circular maze, so it was being communicated more by rights and lefts than anything else.
Yeah, although right there at the end, you're like, right, left, right, U-turn. I'm like, yeah, I got it. I got this.
Yeah, it starts off fairly short runs, and then it quickly got to, 20, 30-second runs in between these platforms that you had to stand on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I think this one compared to the first one, I think this one is the better one to start with if you want to play with someone who's not typically a gamer, but enjoys sort of these puzzle experiences or something like that. Or maybe someone who does play games, but typically they're bad at games. I think the second one is actually a better introduction than the first one, but the first one is free, so it, that's kind of hard.
Yeah, and this one does tie into the first one, in that it's the same group of adventurers that stumble upon this castle, but you get separated pretty much in the opening sequence. Maybe the batted coating was supposed to simulate snow.
Maybe.
I'm joking.
But it happens when you're... Oh, okay. I was going to say, but it happens when you're inside, too, and there's no snow in there.
Oh, well, how do you know? This could be a magic castle.
That's true. I think it is a magic castle. There's some weird shadow demon guy that follows you around in certain places.
No, that's Bob.
Bob follows you around in certain places.
But he's not as active in this one. That's the thing.
And then he yells at you at the very end when you're escaping, but we don't know what he said because it's kind of like all... Yeah. But whatever we did, we pissed him off because I heard him say, and it pisses me off. Like, I'm like, whoa, calm down there, Bob.
Yeah, I kind of want to play the next one, but I'm not sure if I want to pay full price for it.
How much is it?
Let me go double check.
It's We Were Here Together, right?
Yeah, it's $13.
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably wait for it to be on sale. It just came out, right? It was only on sale for like $12.34.
Yeah.
The last sale. It came out October of this year. I mean, we'll definitely get it and play it at some point. Looking at the screenshots, this one's definitely got a different aesthetic that they're showing off.
Yeah. Well, it looks like it got decorated by Tesla.
Yeah. I was going to say, this one feels sort of steampunkish. The first one felt very Cthulhu? I don't know. That might be too far. The second one was very gothic feeling.
Yeah, I would say the first one was, I feel like the first one was fairly gothic as well, but horror as well.
Yeah, the first one was more horror influence. Maybe that's where I'm going for Cthulhu. Whereas this one, the second one, wasn't really horror. There wasn't really a lot of that. Aside from the couple of times that the creepy ghost man shows up.
Yeah, like right at the end for me, with the play, the ghost man was there, kind of haunting me the entire time. And that was rather intense.
Yeah, you mean
in the first
the
one?
First one? Yeah, and then in the first one, there's the room with like all the weird, grotesque paintings and like a clock that ticks down quickly, and then like a shadow monster that comes if you take too long. There's a couple other parts too that just felt very. Oh, the catacombs. There's like the weird little zombie monster thing.
Actually, it looks like We Were Here Together is a lot longer than the others.
Oh, how much longer?
According to this, 7 hours.
Oh, shit. Well, I hope you can save, because you can't actually save in the other ones.
Well, you could start in different places. It essentially has a checkpoint system. So, I would imagine that you could just, pick up where, get to a checkpoint and then continue on.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like there's really any inventory you have to get or keep or anything. You could just start wherever. Man, 7 hours.
Yeah, it looks like 6. Yeah, it looks like 6 to 8 hours. So I would say that's actually more worthwhile now, because I was going into it assuming 2.
Yeah.
Tempting. May pick that on winter sale.
Yeah, see if it's. I mean, even if it's like only $1 off, that's still $1 off.
Mm-hmm. I'd buy that for $1 off.
Touché. Darkness has engulfed the once magnificent Castle Rock and its surroundings. Can you discover the truth behind the grim fate of the fallen citadel and make it out alive? Or will the original inhabitants catch you on your way out? There's the piranha plant monster. Feed me, Seymour. That's what I hear.
Little shop of horrors.
Yes, sir.
All right, Rick Moranis. I miss him. He's not dead or anything. He just stopped acting. Does it make me wonder if they've completed the story, if they're going to go on to something else? Because they have a nice little niche going on here, don't they?
I mean, yeah, there's another game series that I know that's like this.
Well, Portal 2 is kind of like this.
Not really.
Well, I meant
some
for the
communication
gameplay.
Portal, but yeah,
the cooperative element of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where you're relying back and forth and have to communicate, even though Portal is a lot more active. There was also a couple of times I had the game glitch out a little bit, where it would have things not load if I was looking in the exact right angle.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an old... Actually, I believe that's a source bug, so I'm not sure if this game is built on source or what, but yeah. It looks like they call the shadow guy the Jester, not Bob.
The Jester. I like Bob better.
Yeah. Yeah, we could name the planet Bob, right?
Absolutely. We should. So, I think that does it for our mini game club, and now we can go talk about the maxi game club.
Yep.
Which might actually be a little more mini because of the game that we have played. The November game club was Celestial Command. In case this is the first time you've ever joined us for a game club, hello, welcome.
We're sorry.
We're sorry. Rage and I typically play very different games for very different reasons. But for the game club, once a month, we guarantee that we each play the same game at the same time, and then we come together and we talk about it. And yeah, like I said, we played Celestial Command for this month. Celestial Command is an early access game that has been in early access for a long time. We both got it.
Just passed its 5th anniversary, actually.
Yeah, we both got it between 2 and 3 years ago. When it was much, much earlier in its early access cycle.
Yeah, which it's kind of
what did you
weird. Think? When I originally played this, it felt like it was a lot more complete than it actually is now. This does not feel like a game that's been in early access for just over 5 years now. What about to you? Does it feel like it's 5 years old in its development?
No.
It feels like 5
No, it
months,
does not.
doesn't it? I realize small development team, but
I don't think it's quite that, but it feels like it's probably, it feels to me like it should be probably at the 2-year mark of a 3-year development cycle. But it's not. It's on year 5, and we don't know how long they're going to go with it.
Yeah, there's just so much that's overly clunky and overly bare bones. There's so many systems that really go nowhere. And it also pushes you in a direction by essentially force for a game mode and a progression path that the game just does not feel like it's designed for, really. It's
just
odd.
Quickly before we start talking about this, Celestial Command is a resource gathering and ship building game. Yeah, sandbox game. It's on a 2D. Everything is on a 2D plane. You've got sort of a top-down or an isometric almost view of your ship and what you're doing, and you go around and you gather resources by mining asteroids or completing missions for little NPC space stations. To get stuff, you have to have food and air for your crew, and then collect and refine or purchase raw materials to build your ship. There are various weapons where you can engage with pirates in one of the game modes, and then other modules for research. You can build your own ships, your own space stations. There are things coming soon with like carriers and fighter
and capital ships
control, and much larger capital ships. So they're expanding what's going into the game. But currently you can build small, low capacity craft and kind of some what feels like medium-sized ships. But it gets really difficult to build truly large stuff.
Yeah, it tries to push you into building a space station pretty much from day one. And it just does not give you the stuff to be able to do it. But
no, basically you have enough to build like the space station command module and a few pieces that go to it.
Well, they tell you to basically go scavenge, but the thing is that you if you do that, you start to run out of fuel very quickly in the atmospheric mode. There's 2 different modes in this game. When I originally played this, it only had the orbital mode. And that's also probably why it felt a little bit more complete, was that it also had the full solar system where you would have to figure out phase angles and or transfer windows to be able to go to a different planet instead of having these sci-fi warp gates.
Now there's just single planets with warp gates that take you to other planets.
Even though the screenshots still show a planetary system, so I'm not sure if they're planning on bringing that back. Because honestly, I found that a lot more interesting to be able to go to another planet and kind of try to guesstimate it. And there are some tools that help with orbital mode that does not help in planetary or in atmospheric mode. Atmospheric mode is basically this space is an ocean. And you have to have constant thrust in order to get anywhere, and everything has friction. So, but it also makes it so that you're not orbiting the planet. The planet's kind of dropped below the 2D plane. So it's kind of like a placeholder. So you're able to just cut across instead of have to orbit the planet. But honestly, I found the orbital mode, I played both for the Game Club, a lot more interesting and a lot more engaging. But the problem is that there's no NPC ships. And honestly, I found no missions while playing orbital mode.
Oh, interesting. I don't know if that was a bug or if there's something specific you have to do to trigger it. But I started a game mode in each, the orbital and the aerodynamic mode. And there's a lot more in aerodynamic mode, but there are missions in the orbital mode. There were 2.
I went to 2 different stations in orbital mode, which
there were two that I got. One was, hey, go here and collect a thing and bring it back, and then the other was mine or acquire a certain amount of a specific resource and bring that back.
Which I have to say, docking in orbital mode, that's fun. Yeah.
It's not quite as fun as docking in KSP.
No. KSP is fun without the sarcasm quotes. Because in KSP, I think the problem is just the time scales of things. Because in orbital mode, there's essentially, at least on the planet I ended up with, all the stations and everything was in one of 2 different orbits. And one of the orbits was very low. So in order to try to dock with anything, because the orientation of the station doesn't change, it's slowly rotating as it orbits. So I'm having to try to hit a moving target with this oddball placement of this docking port on my ship, because it's essentially on your ship's ass, so you have to like bump your ass up against the station.
Which I didn't mind bumping and grinding a little.
Well, of course you don't. You have no shame. But it was very awkward. But maybe that's why you didn't mind it, is that you're used to feeling awkward.
Very true. I too preferred the orbital mode, but like you were saying, they stripped out everything from orbital mode, and it's only in aerodynamic mode. So there's NPC ships that are both pirates and sort of neutral trading parties that wander around.
I think the neutral trading parties is actually fueling some of the economy in the aerodynamic mode, but I'm not 100% sure. But they also have orbital tools that help you out in orbit. Well, I should say tools that only really work in orbital mode, like stabilized orbit, but also some rendezvous stuff that made it actually, once I figured out how to handle it, a lot of fun to perform rendezvous and be able to collect like space debris and mine. But the problem is that there's jack shit to do otherwise.
Yeah, the warp gates are still there in orbital mode, but I didn't actually use them in orbital mode. I use them in aerodynamic mode. And I mean, all they do is take you to another randomly generated planetary system. You get a map, but you have to sort of explore and connect the different nodes together, so it's not like you can go anywhere. It's possible that there are still these planetary systems. I don't know. And I don't know how many jump gates there are, so I don't know how many different systems you can go to. But like I said,
the galactic map suggests that there's actually quite a few different systems you could go to. But damn, it's just kind of tedious because it takes so much to be able to go around. And it feels like the game is balanced to orbital mode, because it actually doesn't take a lot of fuel to be able to change your orbit. No,
especially if you're patient.
Yeah. And if you stock up on your food and water and just time your orbits, you could do a lot in orbital mode without expending a lot of fuel, and it makes your station a lot less urgent to get up, because you can buy fuel, but it gets expensive quickly, because at least in the default settings for atmospheric mode, you burn a hell of a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
To get anywhere.
You can tweak the settings on world creation to try and help with that. You can reduce the amount of friction. You can reduce the amount of fuel it actually costs to fly around. And those can help, but I mean, you can't reduce the friction to 0, because if you do, you bump anything, it's gone forever.
Because the planet essentially has this sphere of influence, like Kerbal Space Program. And anything that goes outside that sphere of influence, it's basically into the void. It's gone.
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, there's finite resources around each planet. I don't think that actually regenerates.
They don't, even when you use a warp gate to go and come back. You can tweak the amount of resources in a system as well up so that you have more asteroids to mine. But as far as I can tell, they don't.
But you get to a point, especially if you're in orbital mode, where things are bumping onto each other that, they just disintegrate. It turns into Kessler syndrome.
Yeah, you definitely don't get any respawn whenever you warp out and warp back. I don't know if the AI ships can sometimes carry cargo that's missing from a station or a system or whatever. I have no clue. But the way the warp gates work, aside from just taking you to a map to choose, where to go to and show you what you have and have not unlocked, the ones by default that exist on the little maps, you can only fit smaller ships inside of them. And if your ship is even just a tiny smidge outside of what it indicates is the sort of ring where you can use it, it won't work. But it will still take your money. So if you use them, the ones that are there already, it uses credits. The credits that you get for, selling materials, resources, completing missions, whatever. So it uses those credits, and it doesn't give them back to you if your ship is outside of the boundary. And it doesn't give you a warning either saying, hey, your ship's out of the boundary. You should probably put it back.
Yeah, and the credits are very tedious to get. At least in the very beginning. I mean, because... No, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I got a little farther than you. I don't know how much farther, but they were still tedious to get.
Well, I think it's just the fact that, everything feels so bare bones. And I realize this is an early access game. This is essentially still an alpha. But this is also a 5-year game. I would think, there would be more here by now. I mean, whenever I saw that they completely changed the art style, I thought that they were further along than this.
Yeah.
But then opening up the game and seeing the Patreon thermometer on it, and them talking about, if we get another, what was it, like $15 a month, they'll be able to hire someone to do more models, more of this. It's like, I realize this is a passion project for someone, and that is a great thing, and I do appreciate that. However, it feels like there's a certain expectation when you're selling something for $20 that's been in development for 5 years. I mean, people could only throw so much money at one space game blindly and expect, an alpha after 5 years. And unfortunately, this is not Star Citizen.
Yep, I was about to say, Star Citizen already exists. Can't have two. So,
I mean, it's not a bad game for what it is, what's there. Not at this price point. I think I bought it at like 75% off, so it was like $5.
I think I paid $10 for it.
I'm kind of wanting to go back into my purchase history and find this game to find... Because I know I bought it at one point and refunded it because it wasn't working properly, and then I bought it again later on whenever they fixed it. Hang on, I found it on my second purchase. It's wanting me to log in again for some reason, though. But yeah, I mean, I didn't pay that much for it.
I paid $10.99 for it in January 5th, 2017.
Hang on.
Nope.
I'm just double checking this. And it's asking my authenticator. I paid $8.
Gotcha.
Which I think that's a fair price for it. At least what it was at the time, because that's the thing is that, it feels like it's gone backwards. It honestly does, because it was a lot better.
Yeah,
that may just be this. That just may be the simple point that it seems like they're focused more on both atmospheric, but also they're wanting to do bigger and badder ships, but they're not building up the smaller front end of the game first.
Yeah, they definitely gutted the better of the two modes and then dumped all their development energy and time into the worst of the two. Although I'm sure there's somebody out there who disagrees. This is one of those things that's kind of more subjective, but...
Well, I think I think we also may be the weirdos here, in that we both at least have a marginal understanding of orbital mechanics because we've played Kerbal Space Program. We are space enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So we're able to go into orbital mode and be able to at least function fairly quickly, and figuring out the nuances of the game and different how the different tools present themselves, able to actually play the orbital mode without pulling our hair out. So that may be the fact that they're going towards the atmospheric mode as being the focus, at least for the time being. Not just because it's a lot easier to get ships to fly around and not kill each other, or kill themselves, I should say, in the atmospheric flight model, but also that it's a lot more accessible. So I do understand why they're doing it. It's just not fun for us because, we kind of like the crazy orbital mechanics.
Yeah. Agreed. I will say, overall, this game committed sort of the biggest cardinal sin for me. I got bored. I got real bored. And I mean, everyone listening knows that I love these types of games in general, where they have to collect resources and build stuff. Space Engineers, Factorio, Minecraft, Planet Explorers, and on and on and on and on. I got so bored within the first few hours of playing that I didn't want to play anymore for a while.
I mean, if you bore Shrink in a game that has a mining laser, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair assessment.
Yeah. I mean, I paid $10 for it once. That was years ago. What's done is done. I would not be happy spending $10 on this today.
Well, like I said, it was a lot better back in the day. This is one of those cases where I think early access has kind of hurt them in the long run.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to say, okay, this game is crap, end of story. Because I do think it is an ongoing process. And I do think eventually it may end up being something decent. But, yeah, it's just right now. Yeah.
Totally fair. Do you have anything else to add?
I do think that they're going the wrong direction, trying to focus on these bigger and badder ships when I gotta say the full experience. I mean, the first thing it tells you essentially is build a space station, and all the help pop-ups. I think the front-end experience, that new user experience, should be a lot more streamlined, or I should say, made a lot more fun. Because, yeah, you're told to sink essentially all your resources into this station, but not given a reason why until much later, whenever you figure out, oh, I need that station for fuel because, atmospheric mode is it's about as fuel efficient as a 1970s Dodge, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, it feels like they need to sit down and have a severe think about what they want this game to be. Do they want it to be about space stations? Do they want it to be about spaceships? Do they want it to be about resource gathering? Or do they want to have it about trade? Because that's something else that they kind of try to nudge you towards is, well, you don't have to collect resources. You could trade resources between stations. But it's, as someone that's actually enjoyed playing Euro Truck Simulator,
mm-hmm.
It's not fun in this because if you're playing in orbital mode, there's nothing in between you and the other stations to worry about, unless you have to drop down into a lower orbit to avoid the ring system around the planet. But at the same time, there's not enough challenge going on either. It's just kind of moving stuff without any real nuance to it.
Yeah. It's just, at best, hey, take this pile of junk over there.
Yeah.
And at worst,
there's no character to it. Exactly.
Yeah, and at worst, it's like, well, I guess I'll just try and buy this thing and hope I can sell it for higher somewhere else. Because there's no tools that help you, at least not that I found.
Actually, there was a mouse over for the buy price. It would say what station you could send it to or take it to. It's one of those things that they did not tell you. I just happened to move the mouse over it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I barely did that. I mostly just focused on getting my own stuff. But
yeah, which also feels like the fact that there's finite resources is missing the point for this type of game, because they're trying to make the game feel like space, and space is immense. And saying that you can mine out an entire asteroid field with a single ship is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I realize it's not accurate, but how about instead of just having things spawn in, once they get the planetary system back, if they bring it back, or if it's even gone, because like we said, it could be in the game, have it where in orbital mode, every so often, a large asteroid comes in and breaks up in the atmosphere of the planet, and that's how they replenish it. Yeah, maybe make it so it's off the 2D plane, so it's like coming in above or below, so you don't have to worry about it randomly wiping out a station.
Oh, that would be fun.
But have some way to replenish supplies, because it's just space is very vast. And saying that, okay, well, you've run out of resources. You're in space.
It makes space no sense filled with asteroids every fucking where.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't know if I would say I recommend this game. Maybe if you get it really cheap, or if you super are into this type of thing, go for it. But I don't know if there's a price I could recommend this. It's like, hey, you should check this out. It might be worth your time. $1. If it's $1, it's worth $1. Maybe $5 if you like this type of thing.
I would say if they continue developing it, maybe $5, but it's also depending on just the direction they go, because right now, it just feels like they're focused for some reason on capital ships, and I'm not sure why. But they're also not updating the game very often. The game is still in active development. I don't want to say, oh, this is a dead game, they're not developing anymore, because they clearly are. It's just, it's a small development team. So they are putting out an update once every 6 to 8 months. And they're talking about the next one being an overhaul on, well, for one, they are making it where it's going to be easier to build ships, where they have a mirror tool now. But then they talk about having it where you're building bigger ships with a carrier. It's just, wow. I mean, a big ship is just as boring as a small ship.
It's just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, relatively short game club, I think, since there's no story to discuss or anything to really spoil. All gameplay. So, our game club...
Well, if you could call it that.
Well, all
right?
Game mechanics. It does have those.
Well, we didn't really talk about combat at all. Did you get into many fights? Oh, and we did talk about the multiplayer.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That piece of shit.
Remember? Yeah, where it glitched out and we got completely desynced.
Yeah, every time we tried it. I mean, I did a little combat, but combat basically breaks down into, in the early game, fly around in circles so that the computer can't hit you because their aim sucks ass. And then a little bit later, now you have turreted weapons, so you're fine.
Yeah, we set up, I believe it was sandbox mode, whenever we tried co-op.
Yeah.
And I just put turrets on my ship and kind of held back, turned them on auto, and let them rain down death. Oh, that would be a way to continuously get resources, assuming that it's not it's not a finite number of enemy ships as well. Because Oh, that would suck, if there was just a few enemy ships.
Yeah, and I have no idea if more spawn or not.
But I think some of the missions do spawn ships, so. But it's just, there's just very little here game system-wise. There's kinetic weapons, there's lasers, and there's rockets. And that's it for weapons, is it there?
Yeah, you can use the mining laser as a weapon. You can also ram, but that destroys your own ship too.
Yeah. Yeah, if they had some sort of like kinetic, kinetic battering ram that you could build onto your ship to make ramming actually viable, then maybe.
That'd be fun. Ramming speed. Yeah.
It just feels like this is a case of procedural generation does not make for fun content.
No, it does not. Does not indeed. So, Game Club game for the month of December.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one because of how things shake down. Our last two recording dates for December are 2 Eves, Christmas and New Year's Eve. And sorry, Jared, but I have things I'd rather do than record on Christmas and New Year's Eve.
Yeah, fair enough. Same here. Actually, maybe not on New Year's because I'll be at my in-laws and who knows. But I'm not even
wishing for death.
Yeah, but I'm not even gonna try and record then. There's nowhere to do it, and I won't have my proper equipment and everything. It would sound like garbage. But yeah, so we're
How's that different?
It would sound like very faint, difficult to hear garbage instead of the usual loudness with which my nasally voice comes through.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
But yeah, so for January, we're going to be for December, we're going to actually be doing the Game Club on Tuesday, January the 7th. So you have 5 weeks. To play that. And the game we're going to be playing is My Time at Portia. Or Portia? I think it's Portia, but it could be Portia.
I think it's Portia as well, but it is a Xbox Game Pass game, so if you want to get into it cheap, there is the intro, but I did find that there is a deal going on with Discord. They could get 3 months worth for $10.
Oh, I'll have to do that.
Yeah, if you buy into Discord Nitro for a month, they give you a 3-month pass.
Might do that.
Yeah, I
probably will. But yeah, My Time at Portia is a third-person sort of farming
management game. Well, actually, it's not even farming. It's a collection building game. It's not farming. You're actually a blacksmith. You can farm, but it's not the focus.
Going to look at this just a teensy bit better. Or a teensy bit more in more detail.
And the game is set in a post-apocalyptic world.
But when you hear that, don't think Fallout. Think way post-apocalyptic. Like society is already rebuilding, and it's not like a nuclear wasteland.
Yeah, it's, I would say, like late 1800s technology, yes.
Yeah.
With some anachronisms here and there. But yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those games that's got sort of a farm or a house management thing, building, crafting, decorating. But it also has the dungeon crawling aspect. Where you go out and you explore and can get resources and fight enemies and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to this, as long as it's not bad. Which I hope it's not. It's got a lot of positive reviews. And this is my type of game that I enjoy playing.
Yeah, this is a very Harvest Moon Stardew Valley-esque game, which Oh, we're doing this at about the worst time possible because Stardew Valley just put out that new update, and I'm itching to play it, but no, being strong.
Good. Good for you. You can do it. So yeah, my time at Portia. See you in 1st of January for that one. We have one...
you mean the 7th?
Yes, January the 7th. But we have one news topic this week, so we're going to go ahead and knock that one out and move towards the ending portion of the show. But news topic. Electronic Arts is to create its in-game tutorial assistant. You said earlier it's like gaming Clippy.
Yeah, this is interesting. So this is a patent that EA put out. A new patent filed by Electronic Arts. I'm reading directly from TechRaptor because they're one of the better sites out there right now. It indicates they're working on an adaptive in-game tutorial assistant to work across their games. The patent was filed by EA May 6th of this year and has just come to light finally now. In the abstract of the patent, it states, embodiments of the patent disclose provide a tutorial system that can aid a user in performing various game commands in response to different game states in a virtual game environment. As the user plays the game, various game states may be encountered. A tutorial engine may, based on a current game state, determine one or more game commands to be recommended by the user, to the user, based on historical information of the user in the game state model, wherein the game state model maintains associations between game states. Boy, they really like say in game state in this, don't they? In different segments of users. The user is recommended relevant game commands during the normal course of gameplay based on their own gameplay history and on-game commands commonly performed by other users of the game application. So Clippy, right?
Clippy. This kind of makes me think of the Google Stadia system, whether it's like if you push the help button on their controller, it looks for stuff related to where you're at in the game based on.
Oh, wait, that
something.
actually made it to the launch?
Oh, I don't think so, but I remember them, talking about that when they announced it. This sounds like that in a way.
Basically, the fantasy of what Stadia wanted to be versus, the flop that it seems to become.
Yeah. I think if EA pulls this off, or if the thing itself is done in a way that's not super obtrusive and is easy to use, it'll probably do fine. And if it's not, then it'll be Clippy all over again. Yeah,
it's very interesting because I think we could all agree once you get past a certain point of gaming, you do not need to be told to move forward, press the W key. To move backwards, press S.
Definitely.
Overall, I would say gaming has pretty standardized their controls for the most part. There are absurdities or alterations here or there, but movement is pretty standard. Looking around is pretty standard. Shooting is fairly standard. It really depends on the model that the game is using. So be able to craft a game where you don't have to worry about a tutorial section in the very beginning to teach you very basic movement commands and get you actually into the story a little bit quicker is a very interesting prospect.
Yeah.
However.
Okay. What's your butt?
We're dealing with Electronic Arts here.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
There's that part of my cynicism is creeping up and saying, how long will they go before this assistant starts recommending, oh, well, you could just buy a gun. Right?
Did you know that you can press X to reload? Oh my god, I thought I was out of bullets forever.
No, I was talking about recommending microtransactions to whenever you're stuck on a segment.
Did you know you can just buy, wink wink, nudge nudge?
If you don't want to wait 30 minutes for your respawn timer to tick off, you can buy a quick res shake right now. for only 500 EA points.
Not gonna lie, I think I kind of want a res shake right now. I don't know what's in it, but I want one.
Yeah, there's just that cynicism of me because EA has been the absolute worst when it comes to microtransactions, to the point that they locked Darth fucking Vader in a loot box. Okay?
Yep.
So I think it's fair for me to have that little cynical part of my brain saying, it's EA, it's EA. This sounds kind of neat. It allows for a lot of creative freedom, but it's EA, you fool.
Yeah. Fuck EA.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is that.
Fuck you for ruining this for us all.
And I just had to be the cynic here, huh?
Yeah, I agree with you. 100%. I mean, we're both cynics. You just voiced it.
I'm just the bigger one.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
Wait, that sounds like a fact check now.
Just the facts, man.
But yeah, it's just, I mean, this is a really neat thing if it worked out. Or if it works out, because this is just a patent. That's the thing. We are talking about a patent that probably either won't see the light of day for years to come, if it ever sees the light of day, because that's the thing is that companies file patents all the time, throwing out ideas just so that they have the technology patented. Boy, that's a weird word to say, but just having it on lockdown. So if they work on it later, they can, or they could try to grab technology as it develops because they already had the patent on it. But yeah, it's getting more patent trollish than anything else. But hey, EA wouldn't be dicks like that, would? Oh, of course they would. I think it's a really clever idea to try to shake up game development. It's just I don't trust EA with this tool. Yeah. And also, part of me thinks back to those Clippy commercials, and I want this assistant to be voiced by Gilbert Gottfried.
Even if it was terrible, I'd be all for it if it was voiced by Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried yelling at you to buy a loot box.
Yes, please. All right, I'm sorry. Stop yelling at me.
I'm not yelling. This is just how I talk. Oh. So, yeah. Oh. Like I said, I'm of two minds for this. This is either going to be really great or really terrible if it comes to light of day. But hey, who knows if we'll ever see anything like it. I know there's a couple things for Amazon smart speakers that are similar to this that you could ask for help with, and I think other smart speakers have it as well, or smart devices. But there's nothing that's all-encompassing for a single publisher. So, yeah, it's interesting, and the fact that it's going to be in-game if it ever comes out. But I just thought it was an interesting little thing that we found. Because, yeah. Any thoughts?
No additional closing thoughts. Fuck EA. I don't trust them. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I completely turned you 180 on this, didn't I?
What? What do you mean? I wasn't for this specifically. I thought it was interesting.
You seemed a lot more warm to it.
I don't know. I'm warm to the idea, but not EA. Fuck EA. Fuck them. But with that being our only news topic to cover today, let us go ahead and move on to Community Corner. No emails. Tweets. No tweets?
None that I saw.
Okay. We decided kind of last minute that we were going to watch Hitman. I believe it's from 2003 or 2004 Hitman. But we wound up just talking for the better part of 2 hours, and then I had to go to sleep because I had to go to work. And I assume you and Jim went and did other things too. So
yeah.
We wound up not watching that, so I guess maybe this coming week we can watch Hitman. if we don't wind up just bullshitting again. So
Yeah.
sounds good to
do
me.
Hitman. But even though we did fire off some other game ideas or game movie ideas.
Yeah, downloaded a couple, so I'm ready. I think next time after...
Parties.
Indeed. I think next time after Hitman, we should do... Was it Final Fantasy VII Advent Children?
Yeah.
Because Jim has requested that like 3 weeks in a row now, so I have it. And we will probably do that one, not this week, but next week.
I will say that it does have the most badass rendition of One Winged Angel.
Advent Children?
Yeah. It has the rock guitar cover of it.
Gotcha.
For those who don't know, that's Sephiroth's theme, and they brought electric guitar in. I'll link it to Jared so he can listen to it.
Electric guitar makes lots of things better.
But yeah, it is actually a very good movie. And I would say it probably is a candidate for one of the better, if not the best, video game movies out there.
I would ask why, but I don't want to have the movie sort of spoiled for me at all. I want to watch it for myself and decide how I feel about it.
I'll just say that it's a very good story overall, and it does pick up from Final Fantasy VII's main story, but it doesn't feel like you have to play the game in order to enjoy it. You won't get some of the nuance to it, but it's overall, they treat it with respect. And I think that's a problem that many video games movies have, is that they don't treat the source material with respect. So you end up with Yui Bowl in charge.
Yeah.
And I am shooting you something in Discord for you to listen to while we do this. It's the Advent Children. There's no spoilers in it. It's just this song. All right. I had to do a little bit of hunting for it.
No, it's muted. I should probably unmute that.
It sounds the same up until about 25 to 30 seconds. Actually, closer to 40.
Yes. This sounds like a ballad, which I like. Like a metal ballad.
Am I going to add this? Am I going to have to add this to the show notes now?
You probably should. It's 6 minutes long. I'm not going to listen to the whole thing right now. I'm just kind of skimming through it a little bit. But I very much like the sound of this. I'm adding it to one of my music playlists on YouTube.
So there's at least that going for Advent Children, huh?
Yeah. Which is good.
But this should give you an idea of what to expect with. It's basically Final Fantasy VII, but turned up to 11. Which is probably the wrong thing to say, because 11 was the MMO, and it's not an MMO.
No. So, is that everything for this week?
I believe so. So, Discovery Queue, since we have time?
Yeah, well, I was going to say first, hey, Rage, can you tell them where they can send us stuff?
Whoa, you can send us stuff via the email, vglpodcast@gmail.com, or tweet them to us, VGLpodcast on the Twitter. Send it to that little blue bird. And now, Discovery Queue?
Yes, now we go for the theme song.
And I got something, well, I admit this is my second pull. I skipped ahead to this one because the first one was terrible. So, Transport Fever 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Nice. You got the Discovery Queue pool before me. But I've already requested a review key, so we'll see if I get it.
I mean, it's a transport management game. I mean, you played the first one, so essentially bigger and badder than the first one.
It looks like, based on what I've been looking at, it's all of the stuff from the first Transport Fever, and then they've added new campaign and challenge modes. They've added Chinese rail and vehicles, and then they've also added new sort of biome generation whenever you create a new map, like beaches and tropical zones and stuff like that. So looking forward to all of those things. Also, it looks like they've incorporated some of the best mods into the game.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's that. And it comes out in a week.
Woo!
So, you got one?
Yeah, I'm going to post it now. I got distracted. This is called Battle Realms. And there's the link.
Oh, I think I just skipped over that because it looked absolutely terrible.
It looks weird. It looks very, like, 90s-esque.
Yeah, I skipped over this.
I was going to, but then I stopped and I read the description. Battle Realms is a fantasy real-time strategy game inspired by the stories told in old kung fu movies and Oriental mythology. Develop your tiny peasant village into a highly trained and deadly efficient clan of warriors who are ready to die with your name on their lips. So it looks very 90s in graphics and interface style, but it's just like the whole kung fu movies thing. I was like, huh, interesting. That has piqued my interest a tiny bit, but I couldn't tell you, obviously without playing it, so.
Well, I got an interesting one, and actually kind of highlight something that we never really talked about. I got Tools Up, which is...
I just got that.
Well, since I skipped over the previous one, I guess I get this.
Yeah.
A local co-op focused party renovation game. But the reason why I'm highlighting this now is that they're talking about supports remote play. And that's something that we never highlighted whenever Steam released it, was that Steam is now pushing pretty heavily couch co-op over internet to kind of make couch co-op a lot more, attractive, or couch co-op only game. So, interesting one. Some people are saying it doesn't work well, but that may also be the fact that, it's connected to a remote computer, but it looks interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Overcooked.
Yeah.
And I skipped over the first Overcooked because it was local co-op only, and I didn't really have anyone to play with, so, yeah.
Right. So I got Grid. We've talked about Grid on the show before as part of a news topic, and this is like the reboot or whatever of the Grid series. Where that one of the big features is the new AI and Nemesis system, like inter-race Nemesis system, and then like developing your racing team with more options than the previous one. I mean, I really like Grid. It strikes a really good balance between sim racing and arcade stuff.
It's getting absolutely hammered on reviews because they decided to make a very requested feature tied to Stadia. In case you're wondering why it has so low reviews right now.
What is that feature?
Endurance races. It's Stadia only.
Oh, that's fucking stupid. I like endurance races.
Nope. They tied it to Stadia. And
fuck
they
that.
They tied an endurance race. Think about this: endurance racing to a platform that has about the worst or the best chance, I guess I should say, of something going terribly wrong. Right?
Yeah.
So I got an interesting looking one, but sorry to ruin Grid for you.
No, you're fine.
Maybe they'll smarten up later. I got Lost Ember. This looks kind of like an evil economy almost, but not evil. I'm talking about the character design on the main on the playable character. Explore the remains of a fallen world from a fascinating perspective. Slip into the role of different animals and uncover the fate of an ancient world. I mean, this looks economy-ish. Only, updated. So, economy always struck me as one of those games that it looks a little bit clunky to play nowadays, based on modern standards. So it may be the same idea that we had with Shadow of the Colossus, where it's a classic, but it just doesn't hold up that well for people that don't have the nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I haven't played Okami in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember liking it.
Yeah.
Do do you like Pokemon? Do you want to play them but don't have access to a Nintendo console or for some reason an emulator? Well, have no fear and look no farther. It's Nexomon. Catch, evolve, and collect over 300 unique Nexomon. Assemble the ultimate Nexomon team to save your friends and save the world. Clash against legendary champions and become a hero in this epic journey. It actually looks like a pretty decent game. Just in art style, I have no idea how it would play, but it looks like kind of the middle-ish Pokemon games, like that came out in like the mid 2000s, where there's some 3D aspects, but there's still a lot of 2D stuff, kind of faking 3D on the handheld there, with the art style.
I mean, overall, that doesn't look bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't look terrible. Just I think it's funny that it's just a Pokemon ripoff in at least title and game mechanics. Yeah,
but considering we don't really have anything like that for PC.
Yeah. I'm really tempted to just impulse buy this. I'm not with Christmas coming up, but I'm tempted. Wonder if it's on Keymailer. I can always request a key. That would be fun.
Well, I had to dig a little deeper in my queue. I'm getting a lot of crap this week. I had one that was straight up porn.
Nice. Like getting the straight up porn games. All right, back to looking at
I got SaGa Scarlet Grace Ambitions. With the fate of the world uncertain, follow the journey of Eupernia, Terria, and Belmont as they call upon their might and set out to carve a new future. I mean, it is a Square Enix game, so it's kind of fitting that that I'm currently listening to the rock ballad One Winged Angel. But JRPG, fairly well-known developer. Square Enix has had some problems with their PC ports, so you got to be careful with that. It doesn't look like anybody's really complaining all that much, but there's not that many views right now. It was originally a PlayStation Vita game, so a little bit older, but not terribly old. Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall, it doesn't look like it's that bad right now, but there's only a handful of reviews. It looks like did it just come out? No. Wow. Okay, this came out. Oh, no, this may be the original release date. Yeah, that has to be the original release date because it says release date August 1st, 2018. That doesn't seem right to only have a handful of reviews.
Gotcha. So,
yeah, but, JRPG from Square Enix. If it's a good port, then it's probably worthwhile to at least look at.
Yeah. So my next one is a warn, like a stay away. Just I'm highlighting it because it's stupid. Oh, Hentai Nazi.
Why do you make me put this in the show notes?
We can delete it. I can just mention it. We can delete it if someone's really interested. They can look it up. But yeah, Hentai Nazi. You're a hentai girl who's mostly naked, going to kill Nazis and Hitler in a church.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this character model before.
There's been quite a few hentai games I've seen here recently. It's like hentai something.
Yeah. Well, and I'm pretty sure most of them are from this developer because take a look at their history.
Yeah, I see that. And then the last two games in my queue, one of them is a game that does not support the English language. And then the other one is a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle game. So.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a jigsaw puzzle game, but yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's my queue. Where are you at in your queue?
I have two remaining after this one, but I got. Okay, this is a weakness of mine. I'm gonna post it anyway. Ultimate Fishing Simulator VR.
Nice.
I have a weakness for fishing games. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the fact that it's a lot easier to go out and fish in a video game and not have to spend an absurd amount of money on gear. Because, yeah. But also, easier to go to exotic locations. This game supports VR, but it does not require a VR headset. So the VR is optional in this. They do have a fair amount of DLC for it already with different locations, but it's a fishing simulator game. And it looks like it's getting fairly decent reviews overall. Looks like some people are saying it's fidgety with only a handful of techniques, but yeah. It's a $30 game, so it's in that AA price range.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not bad overall. Take a look at my last two. Ooh, that's interesting. As I cough real quick.
What did you get, sir?
Well, right now I got a drink, but I got Moestry, a 2D Metroidvania game. Is a pixel art side-scrolling action platformer. Lead both through mind-bending puzzles using special abilities, bizarre enemies, threatening traps, and ingenious level design awaits. It looks very Metroidvania-ish at least, but they're calling it puzzle platformer, which I also, just based on screenshots, look very similar. Looks very impressive overall, and looks like it's very fast-paced. That could be painful if you're not good at it. Well, it looks like they have a very good enemy variety and a very nice aesthetic overall. Looks interesting, huh?
It does indeed.
Worth the $15. Which, hang on. Who did that? I'm looking at their other games. My last one, early access survival game. That's a nope.
I see.
Nope.
Fair enough.
I'm just seeing what the other one. Looks like it's the developer's first game, and the publisher, at least on Steam as well. So yeah,
cool.
But yeah, early access, multiplayer focused survival game. Nope.
Fair enough. So I had 4, really more 3, and you had 6.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Which, considering I had some very bad ones, that's kind of a surprise for me, actually.
Yeah. So, Rage, hit them with the socials.
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on YouTube, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR. Or if you want to be my friend on Steam, you can find me, Caffeine Rage, there as well. And you've been
Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707. I skipped YouTube. You can find me over there by searching for Gaming Psychologist. And you can be my friend on Steam by sending a friend request to JR4707.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is sauerkraut.
I don't like sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut. I don't really care for it either, but I haven't tried it in ages.
Yeah, I don't really like sauerkraut.
That was one of the random words off my list. Because honestly, Celestial Command didn't really inspire me to have a word for it. Unless it was Snorefest, but yeah, sauerkraut. It sounds a lot kinder to it. But if you wish to be kind to us, once again, you could send us some stuff. VGLpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, or gaming-related topics, or just tweet them to us, VGLpodcast, on the Twitter. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more, patreon.com/VGLpodcast. And if you wish to find the show notes, the RSS feed, links to all our stuff, you can find it over at the Podbean, VGLpodcast.podbean.com. But we are also on iTunes, Google Play, or your podcatcher of choice. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and our Discovery Cube music is Doobly Doo by the same artist. You can find his work over at Incompetech.com, and
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.